This is episode 7 of ExChange, also known as Love's Transit. But before that, I just want to ask, if you guys are new here, why haven't you subscribed yet so we can become besties? Literally, everybody here knows that the moment you hit the subscribe button, we automatically become besties. Like, this is literally a visual representation of what we would be the moment you hit the subscribe button. But it's okay, it is okay. I'm a very, very patient person, so I'll wait. And while you're there, you might as well follow me on Instagram and join the Discord where we're talking all things K-drama, C-drama, all that type of stuff down below. With that being said, you guys already read the title, so let's just get right into the video, shall we? But actually I lied because I just want to stop real quick and just say, like, everybody who's supporting this series, I love you guys so much. Like, I'm actually so surprised that Singles Inferno is more popular, I want to say, than this series, because I definitely feel like Singles Inferno is so repetitive. I feel like this one is more shocking. I don't know. Maybe it's just like to each their own, but like, I'm genuinely shocked that like more people are interested in Singles Inferno than in this show. So for my besties that are interested in this show, like, you guys are real ones. I love you. There are 9 people in this villa. Yushik and Minkyung, who are exes, Baekhyung and Hyunji, who are exes. Then there's also Wonkyoo, Woojin, Jiyeon, Jihyun, as well as Yoonyoung. In the last episode, we saw the more emotional parts of the show being exposed because even our most bubbliest people were just crying because they were overall overwhelmed by the situation. Jihyun, who has had this very positive outlook, positive character this whole time that we've seen her, she's always been smiling. She ended up having a breakdown the night before because her feelings got the best of her. But something that I want to add was that as I was editing, I started thinking more about what Jihyun was saying, and I was just like, you know what, like, what she's saying here doesn't really make sense. The reasons why she's saying she broke down, like, obviously, like, if you want to break down and have a little moment, like, every reason that you have is valid, but like, for like her character, what I knew and what I saw, I was just shocked because I was just like, wait, like, this is what like made you cry? If you remember, she was basically saying that like she regretted not reaching out to Yushik, and then she just thought that he was a really nice guy, and then also at the same time she thought that going into this villa would lead her to see more people and that she would get more exposure and let her forget her ex. But if anything, she just ended up feeling more lonely. So then I started thinking about it because I was just like, wait, like, I don't really see that though, and I don't really understand that. And I started thinking like, okay, if Jihyun and Wonkyoo are exes the way that like I think that they're exes, during this moment before she started breaking down, Wonkyoo was basically talking about what his ideal type of girl was, and the person that he was describing, it wasn't necessarily Jihyun. Like, I wouldn't say that it fit her specifically. If anything, like we were talking about in the last video, it seemed like she was describing Jiyeon. So that made me think that maybe Jihyun ended up getting like pretty emotional because she was listening to her ex basically describe his dream girl, and it was nothing like her. But these are just my thoughts. This is not canon. And on top of this, I just want to say, as you guys know, I recap these stories in a way where it's just like you guys find things out at the same time I find things out. So I'm telling you guys everything how I felt in that moment. Anyways, we start this new episode with Jiyeon hanging out with Wonkyoo, and she's basically telling him that she thinks that they should hang out together later, and Wonkyoo agrees. But then as everybody's getting up and going through their daily morning routines, we see that Jiyeon actually got a request to go into the private room. And this is the same private messaging room that we saw a little while earlier before everybody got matched up for the first time, where everybody could go ahead and talk to whoever they were interested in, their ex. So now I'm just like, oh, okay, she randomly got this message. Does this mean that like people can just go and request to go message somebody anytime they want to in the private messaging room? But then one of the hosts point out that it no longer says X chat room. Instead, it just says go to the chat room. So this means that it could be a girl or a guy who's waiting for her on the other side, which is basically anybody in this villa. And so Jiyeon makes her way over and she starts chatting to this person who requested a meeting with her. And the person she was talking to just seemed very friendly and nice and overall comfortable. And so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did Jiyeon's ex just call her into this chat room? And then Jiyeon herself ends up saying she thinks that it's either her ex or it could be Wonkyoo just because of how familiar they were talking with her. But then she ends up getting an extra text that basically asks her, hey, are you 100% over your ex? And this to Jiyeon makes her think that this is 100% her ex. And because Jiyeon thinks that this is her ex, she responds very promptly, I'm 100% over my ex, and on top of that, I'm interested in somebody else in this villa. And Jiyeon says to us that she has no intentions of getting back with her ex, and because of this, she feels like it's better to just tell it to him blatantly in case he has any thoughts of getting back together. But then the questions start getting a little weird, and they start asking Jiyeon, hey, where do you live? Where do you like to go on dates for? What are you like as a person? And so now it's just like, wait, who is this? Why are they acting brand new? And Jiyeon basically says, like, I had already told everybody what kind of Providence I lived in, and that's when it hit me that I must be talking to somebody who's not in the villa yet. And so now, behold, we have a new resident joining this villa, shaking it up with all of these exes, and his name is Jaehyung. And I'm just like, thank goodness. Like, okay, you guys would think I would be mad, like, oh my gosh, a new person in here, a new person in here. At this point, I just need to accept the reality that there's gonna be new people coming in here every now and then. I'm just glad that this guy's name is in like Shik-yu or like Hyungbaek. Like, I would have thrown a fucking tantrum because y'all can't just keep on having all these names next to each other. I'm over here like Ji-yeon, Ji-hyun, Hyun-ji. Like, it's getting ridiculous. Truly. And the panelists end up saying that this guy kind of looks like the actor Jung Hae-in. I would say I can see it, but it's in the sense of like they go ahead and they say that they're siblings, and that's when you're just like, oh, you guys do look alike, but like I wouldn't think of it on my own. But Ji-yeon didn't seem interested in the conversation, and so it ended shortly afterwards. But now it seems that this new resident gets to talk to all the girls in here, because afterwards a new person comes to go chat with him. So next comes in our little ginger Yoon Young. She seems to connect with this new guy Jae Hyung much more than Ji-yeon did. And he ends up asking Yoon Young if she has any feelings left over for her ex, and Yoon Young responds, although she feels fine and although she's feeling better, she can't say that she's 100% over her ex yet. But then she also ends up telling this new guy that there's somebody in this villa that she likes. And so now this new guy, Jae Hyung, he decides that he's gonna end the conversation there, but instead of him saying like, oh, I ended the conversation because she has somebody that she's interested in a confessional, Jae Hyung ends up saying that she felt like my ex, and that's the reason why I ended the conversation. And see, now I also was thinking that they might be exes, not because I was just like, oh, this and this and this and this, but no, it was more so because you guys already know I've been making like my theories as for who is exes with who, and Yoon Young, I don't have an ex for her yet, so I feel like anybody who walked in, I would have automatically been like, okay, that's Yoon Young's ex. But now that they've gone ahead and said it, and they've allowed us to hear that this guy said that he didn't choose Yoon Young because it sounded like his ex, now I'm questioning that, because I feel like this show has like a record of specifically not telling us when somebody is somebody's ex. So now I'm like, man, if this isn't Yoon Young's man, like I'm confused now, because I already have everybody else matched up and I don't want her to throw this off for me. But now Jae Hyung moves on to another conversation, and this conversation is now with Min Kyung. And unlike the other two conversations, yeah, we saw that Ji Yeon's conversation with him was dry, and then Yoon Young's conversation was like somewhat better. This conversation that he has with Min Kyung is way better than the other two, and they seem to connect very well. On top of that, as they're talking back and forth, it seems that their answers are very compatible with each other, and they seem like they would have compatible personalities. So instead of Jae Hyung testing the waters by texting more people, he goes ahead and he says right then and there, do you want to go out on a date with me? To which Min Kyung says yes. And then the moment she says yes, the dividers that they have separating the two conversations completely moves out of the way, exposing them to each other, and now they're face to face with the person they've been messaging this whole time. Both of them were very caught off guard, and I was also caught off guard because I was just like, what's going on? I wasn't expecting that to happen whatsoever. But they both seem to have a very good first impression of each other, and on top of this, Jae Hyung seems to be a very direct person, which I feel like is a good match with Min Kyung, because we've seen that Min Kyung is a very direct person. Like when she has a problem with something, she says it right away rather than like holding it to herself. And so I'm hoping that if they actually do end up matching well, that this will be a good thing for Min Kyung, because we've seen the way that Min Kyung acts compared to how Yushik acts, and I feel like the way that Yushik acts is much more like avoidance. I feel like he would go out of his way not to talk about something because it makes him uncomfortable, whereas Min Kyung, like I just said, is very direct about how she feels. Meanwhile, we move over to Ji Hyun, and she's writing a note to Yushik, and the reason why she's writing a note to him is because way back in the messaging room when she was texting Min Kyung about Yushik so they can go out on their date together, this is where Min Kyung basically told Ji Hyun that Yushik needs somebody to tell something to him very directly for him to understand it, because otherwise he will misunderstand what the person is trying to say. And so because of this, Ji Hyun ends up writing a note saying that she wants to go out on a date with Yushik, and she decides that she's going to give it to him when she gets the opportunity. But as Ji Hyun is going on her way over to her room, she ends up running into Baekhyung, and because of the fact that Ji Hyun and Hyunji, Baekhyung's ex, room together, as Baekhyung is talking to Ji Hyun and making his way over to her room, he ends up running into his ex Hyunji as well, and they start talking. But you may be wondering, okay, why is he going up to her room in the first place? The vacuum for the house is in their room at that moment, so he ends up having to go in there to grab the vacuum. And so then on his way out, Baekhyung and Hyunji end up having a conversation together, basically like chopping it up, like, hey, how are you doing, this, that, normal casual conversation as they make their way over to the kitchen. But even though Baekhyun's now in this kitchen, and we also see that everybody else is there also making breakfast and things like that, he ends up saying that he actually won't be eating breakfast that day, and you can see from his attire that it's very obvious that he's going to be heading out, to which Hyunji, his ex, also takes note of. So then Hyunji ends up going back into her room, I think to just go grab something or something like that. But then because of the fact that not only is Ji Hyun her roommate, Min Kyung is also her roommate, she ends up running into Min Kyung getting ready, and so now Ji Hyun and Hyunji are both teasing Min Kyung about the fact that she's getting ready to leave somewhere, and they're like, oh, you're going on a date, you're going on a date, because in this house they basically have these rules that you're not supposed to tell somebody when you're going on a date. But in a confessional, Hyunji, Baekhyung's ex, says that it was very apparent to her and very obvious to her that Min Kyung and Baekhyung would be going on a date together, and they were even wearing similar attire. And I think she especially might think this because during her date out with Yushik the day before, Yushik was going ahead and telling her like, Baekhyung, I 100% feel like he's going to be interested in my ex. And even though she doesn't 100% know that Yushik and Min Kyung are exes, maybe she could just take note of it, and so she probably thinks that Min Kyung and Baekhyung are going out on a date. Whole time, Min Kyung is actually getting ready to go on a date with this new guy who hasn't even been introduced into the villa yet. And then on top of this, although yes, Baekhyung will be going out on a date, it's not with Min Kyung, it's with Yoon Young, which they had planned the day before. And so Hyunji ends up saying in her confessional, my favorite roommates and my ex are going out on a date together, and is putting putting me in a bad mood. And so even though she had already returned to the kitchen at this point, she ends up seeing that Min Kyung got ready and she left. And then on top of that, shortly afterwards, she sees that Baekhyun also got up and he left. And so this leads Hyunji to going back up into her room, where she basically gets really emotional and she starts crying again, because again, she's seeing all of this happen right in front of her. So basically, ever since Hyunji got in here, it's been downhill for her, because she was struggling on day 1 and she's struggling on day 2. But we already know that Baekhyun and Hyunji have had a very passionate relationship. Like, they've said it themselves, and in both of their stories in which they separated them, they basically told the exact same story, where they're like, yeah, we're basically obsessed with each other and we couldn't let each other go because we're just so overly invested in the relationship. So it seems that both of them just have very strong feelings towards their past relationships together. And she says in confession that she finds it very hard to basically watch Baekhyun move on, and she didn't think that she was gonna be like this, and she thought that her time in here would be casual. So it's surprising her that she's feeling as strongly about this as she does. But now, even though she's confused, we're definitely not, because we move over to Baekhyun and Yoonyoung on their dates, and he basically gives Yoonyoung a cup of tea. But the thing is, it's not in like a tumbler or anything with like a lid on it. So basically, Yoonyoung ends up getting this cup of tea that she has to be mentally aware of the entire time as they're driving so that it doesn't spill. But she says in a confessional that she thought that it was cute. And so now they officially start their dates, and they've decided that they're going to be doing this like woodworking type of thing going on here. But as Baekhyun and Yoonyoung are on this date, we get this really cute moment where they basically tie each other's aprons before they start getting ready to do their arts and crafts. But we also end up seeing how diligent Baekhyun can get, because as they're starting to do this, we see that he's fully focused on creating his woodwork, to the point where it seems like he's forgotten that he's on a date because he's so laser focused on it. And this kind of reminds me about how Hyunji, Baekhyun's ex, had said in the past that there was a time when he was cleaning her bathroom for her, and it ended up taking him so long that he was even late to getting ready for their date together. But again, Yoonyoung finds him cute, so she doesn't see a problem with this. And then we get a confessional from Baekhyun basically reiterating the fact that he says that he's not good at multitasking. But this whole time, what they've been making during this whole woodwork day are cutting boards. So after they finish, they end up swapping cutting boards as a cute little like, oh, you have mine, I'll have yours type of thing. And then after they finish with this, they transition to a restaurant for the second part of their dates. And so as they're on the second part of their date, this is where Yoonyoung calls out the fact that Baekhyun always has these bracelets on, and Baekhyun is just like, well, like, I never take them off, like I always have them on all the time, so like it doesn't even bother me anymore. And then he's just like, do you want one? And obviously Yoonyoung says yes. So this is where Baekhyun takes off the bracelet and he actually puts it on Yoonyoung's wrist. You guys have to remember, these are bracelets that he never takes off, so obviously somebody who's known him for a while would know what bracelet he's been wearing. So that just made me automatically think, and I think the panelist also said something about it as well, that the moment that they get back to the house, if Yoonyoung is still wearing that bracelet, Hyunji, Baekhyun's ex, is automatically going to notice the fact that she's wearing Baekhyun's bracelet. And so now I'm just like, I know the producers, the evil ass producers of this show, because at the end of the day, honestly, if you want to see my opinion so far, I don't think anybody in this show is bad. I feel like some of them have unhealthy tendencies, but like as you're watching them, nobody here seems like a bad person. So I'm just going to vent out my anger on these producers because they know what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. I went on a whole rant on it at the end of the other episode. These producers are evil. How dare you guys? But it's because they're so evil that I know their asses are eating this shit up. But back to the story, Baekhyun and Yoonyoung are chatting it up. Yoonyoung is basically just laughing at everything that Baekhyun's saying. He could say and she'd be like ah. He could say duh and she'd be like oh. Like, you guys ever see those videos of Zendaya? You guys know Zendaya. And she's basically talking with Tom Holland and they're having like an interview. And the moment Tom Holland says anything, Zendaya's just like, oh, you're so funny, you're so funny. And it's just like, baby, I didn't even say anything yet. Zendaya. But that's basically what this whole interaction is giving. Yoonyoung even catches herself in a confessional and she ends up saying like, I don't know why, but like literally everything he does, I find it so funny. Do I actually have a crush on him? Because y'all know, the moment you're interested in somebody, all of a sudden everything's funny. And then on their way back from the date, they're in a car, which I just want to point out, like, they got to their date by driving there, but they're getting back from their date in an Uber. So like, what happened to the car? But on their way back from their date, Yoonyoung ends up telling Baekhyun that he looks better with his glasses on. And I agree, because I remember when he first took it off, I was just like, oh. Yoonyoung ends up saying that he looks better with his glasses on, and then Baekhyun is just like, yeah, okay, so I'm never gonna take my glasses off ever again. If I'm showering, I'm gonna keep them on. If I'm going to sleep, I'm gonna keep them on. And then Yoonyoung is laughing and she was just like, okay, but like, what if I said that I liked denim? He was like, well, then I'm showering with denim. In fact, I'm gonna go get a tattoo of denim if you like denim so much. So they've made it very apparent that their feelings for each other are mutual. Meanwhile, ever so casually at the house, we see Ji-hyun walk into Won-kyu's room and they're just talking to each other very, very casually. And it's through their speech that they're saying ever so simply that they're exes. Like, they don't even say, look, these are the exes, this is their introduction X group. No, they're just basically talking. They're just like, oh, so all of a sudden you want to talk comfortably with me. Oh, you want to talk formally with me. And it's just like very snappy, very snappy, very snappy. And anybody with eyes can see that they're exes. And so then the panelists are just like, whoa, they're just revealing the exes just like that. So yes, Ji-hyun and Won-kyu are exes. Notice I said Ji-hyun and not Ji-yeon. Ji-yeon is the one chasing after 1Q like nobody's business. But now this is making me wish like what I said in the beginning of the video, I had said it in my last video. It's just like, yes, I'm still amazing, but like the effect isn't as strong now. But now I'm 3 for 3, baby. We have Minkyung and Yushik, we have Baekhyun and Hyunji, and now we have Ji-hyun and 1Q. But now the panelists are saying that they weren't expecting that Ji-hyun and 1Q were exes. But I was just feeling like, I feel like it was pretty obvious, especially as 2 of the other couples got revealed, because 1Q has said all the time that his ex was like immature. Never to say that she was childish, but like immature. And if you look at all the girls who are here, we have Ji-yeon, who is definitely much more mature. We have Yoon-young, who I was thinking for a second might have been 1Q's ex, but like after the whole art gallery situation, I'm just like, I don't think so. And then other than that, we have Minkyung, who we already know who her ex is. Hyunji just got here, and so I feel like it was very obvious with the choices that we had that Ji-hyun was 1Q's ex. But now that they're really saying this means that 1Q didn't give Ji-hyun anything in her farewell package. Because you guys remember when they all got their boxes and they could see what their exes gave them? And then we had Ji-hyun basically go into her room and she came out mad as hell because why? Because her farewell box was empty. Why the fuck did you put nothing in the farewell box? Like, what's their excuse for that? But they start talking to each other about how they're adjusting in the house and if they're doing well and all that stuff. But it's definitely not like everybody else's conversations. I'm so sorry about it. Like, they're talking like, hey, so like, how are you adjusting in the house? Oh, really? Okay, you're doing this? Why are you so fucking loud? Why are you so annoying? Like, every single time I hear you, like, I just get irritated. Can you eat quieter? Can you chew quieter? It's just like, damn, like, these bitches don't like each other. Let me just say that. Let me just say that. And I don't want to say that Ji-hyun was the main aggressor in the conversation, because aggressor just has too much of a negative connotation, but you could tell that she was irritated with him as they were talking. But then this just kind of reminds me and throws me back to when they're doing the introduction letters, and Ji-hyun had said in her confessional that she was really touched by the fact that her ex said so many nice things about her, because in her mind, when they ended off, all she thought of him was as a bad guy. But now they're both getting into it, because Ji-hyun is just like, yeah, sometimes you say things and I'm just like, what the fuck is he even talking about? And then 1Q was just like, you know what, like, I don't know why, but every single time I see you and every single time you speak, I just get so irritated and I don't know why. But then guys, oh my gosh, it gets crazy. Ji-yeon, notice I said Yeon, not Hyun, who's talking to 1Q right now. Ji-yeon, the one chasing after 1Q, she goes downstairs and she goes knock knock knock, opens the door, but before she's able to open the door, Ji-hyun ends up hearing that somebody's coming downstairs and she quickly goes and hides behind the door. And like the way I want to say it, it's like, low-key, can you guys see that over there? There's like this little indentation between where my shelf is and where this wall is, but you can tell that one's in the foreground and one's in the background. So basically, Ji-hyun is hiding behind the door in the very same way, and so when Ji-yeon opens the door, she doesn't see her right away. And so she's basically talking to 1Q, who's laying in his bed as if nothing is happening, and they're having this conversation back and forth while Ji-hyun, 1Q's ex, is hiding behind this door as 1Q is talking to Ji-yeon, the person who is now interested in 1Q. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And I'm getting anxious because like I feel like they're about to get caught. I'm like, what's going on? This is actually crazy. What would the producers even do in this moment? Because now she basically caught you guys talking to each other. Like, what would you even say? But then Ji-yeon ends up leaving and closing the door without ever fully getting into the room, so she never sees that Ji-hyun is also in the room. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, thank God. I was getting so scared. But it was so crazy that 1Q and Ji-hyun just had to acknowledge what happened, and they both just start laughing with each other, and they can't even get back into arguing like how they were earlier. But then I'm just like, what's going on for real? Like, I'm starting squinting my eyes. I'm like looking real close, because why are they saying a whole bunch of I hate you, I hate you, I hate you? But like, it feel like they're flirting. Like, do you want me to leave? Like, what's happening here for real? Y'all definitely dated. But after passing that horror scene, they quickly end their conversation and Ji-hyun ends up leaving the room. And I thought this was gonna lead us into the whole ex introduction. We're sitting at the tables, we talk about our past, but no, we actually move over to Minkyung and her date with this new guy, Jae-hyung. And guys, I don't mean to keep glossing over Minkyung's dates. I understand that I make them a lot shorter than everybody else's, but it's just because all her dates tend to go well, but there's also never anything notable about it to the point where I'm just like, okay, you guys have to hear this. Like, no. But what I do want to say about their date is that actually I feel like they're very compatible with each other. This new guy, Jae-hyung, seems to be really close to Minkyung's ideal type, and as you're talking, you can also see that Jae-hyung is very interested in Minkyung, and he even tells her straight up that after talking to the 2 girls, when he ended up talking to her, he ended up choosing her right away. Here's the thing though, under normal circumstances, he would have been able to talk to every single girl in the villa before he was just like, okay, I want to go on a date with this person. But he said that he ended up clicking with Minkyung so much that he decided like there was no point in talking to the other girls, he just wants to go out on a date with her. But off of first impressions, I would say, like I've said already, that I feel like their personalities are really compatible because they're both very direct. Meanwhile, back at the house, 1Q gets Ji-yeon, not his ex, he gets Ji-yeon, and he asks her if they want to go ahead and have dinner together. And then after he asks this, Ji-yeon ends up saying no. You see how crazy that sounds? We all know Ji-yeon said yes, and so they go over to the kitchen and they start making dinner. So they're in the kitchen whipping it up. They have these cute moments where they're just like, what are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing? I have no idea. But they end up going through the instructions and they finish their meat and they let it marinate, and they have to let it marinate for 2 hours. So they basically just go their separate ways and go back into their rooms. And this is where Woojin goes into Wonky's room and he asks him if he's cooking, and then Wonky is just like, yeah, and Woojin is just like, oh, okay, do you want me to help you? But then because Wonky's room is directly across from Ji-yeon's room, Ji-yeon ends up hearing their conversation and she leaves and she says, oh, Woojin, actually we're cooking together. And so Woojin's just like, oh, okay, and he leaves the room and he goes upstairs before he promptly turns back around, goes downstairs and enters Ji-yeon's room. Of course, Wonky has his own room and the door is closed, so he doesn't see what just happened, and so Woojin goes into Ji-yeon's room, and this is where it's revealed that Woojin and Ji-yeon are exes. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is it today? Like, they literally just revealed two different couples on the same episode, and they did it ever so casually. I feel like maybe they were just like interacting with each other so much to the point where they're like, okay, we can't just keep cutting everything out, we have to make it known that they're exes so that we can show more stuff. But like now think about it. I already said that I thought that Woojin and Ji-yeon were exes. So now this is Min-kyung and Yoo-shik who are now confirmed exes, Baek-hyung and Hyunji who are now confirmed exes, Ji-hyun and Won-kyu who are now confirmed exes, and Ji-yeon and Woojin who are now confirmed exes. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4 for 4, baby, and I'm not talking Wendy's. If anything, I feel bad for y'all because I feel like I just spoiled the damn show. But now it has me wondering, like, y'all have like a good 15, 14 episodes left and y'all done revealed damn near all the fucking couples. There's only so many possibilities left. Like, what are y'all gonna be doing for the next episodes? I guess we'll find out. But now Woojin and Ji-yeon are talking in her room, and this is where Ji-yeon tells Woojin very directly that she's interested in somebody else, and obviously that person is Won-kyu. And now we get moved over to Woojin and Ji-yeon at their couple introduction table. So they started dating on March 3rd, 2024, and they broke up almost exactly a year later on March 17th of 2025. And when I was saying before, they're like, oh, Yoo-shik and Min-kyung, they damn near just broke up 2 days ago because they had broken up 5 months ago at the time. I was like, this breakup is fresh and they're already on this show? No. Woojin and Ji-yeon's breakup is even fresher because they just broke up like 3 months before the show started filming, estimated. But they ended up meeting at a restaurant where Ji-yeon was the customer and Woojin was the server. And at this point, you already know Ji-yeon, she's smooth like butter. So she basically saw like, okay, this guy is just my type, and she wrote her number on a sticky note and put it on the back of his hand as he was working. And Woojin basically said, face card lethal, so people have been asking me for my number and for my contact all the time, but Ji-yeon was specifically my type, so I ended up texting her back. And they said they found out that they had a lot of things in common, and they were talking until eventually and naturally they ended up dating. But the only problem was that their schedules were very vastly different. I'm talking, you wake up when I go to sleep and I go to sleep when you wake up because of their work schedules. But despite this, because of how much they cared for each other, they always made time for each other, and because of that, they were still able to stay in a relationship despite the big difference in their schedules. And this is where Woojin ends up saying that Ji-yeon was very, very caring towards him, and now in Ji-yeon's side of things, she also says that he was very, very caring towards her. And as she's talking, Ji-yeon ends up getting pretty emotional, and she ends up saying that her dad ended up passing away last year, and Woojin was with her throughout that entire time, and he was the reason why she was able to get through it so well. It seems that they're very, very caring people towards each other, but I'm sure we all saw it coming. They ended up breaking up because their schedules were just not compatible. However, the plot gets deeper than that, so let's go ahead and talk about it. This part that Ji-yeon starts talking about actually made me really sad, and it made me feel for her a lot because she said that as the relationship started declining, she couldn't stop thinking about the way that Woojin was in the beginning of the relationship. And the reason why she says this is because in the beginning of their weekend, he would go ahead and tell her things like, I know I'm so busy, but you already know that all my weekends are specifically for you. But then by the end of the relationship, he ended up saying things like, oh, do you think that my weekends are automatically gonna be for you? And I'm sure that like some people are gonna be like, oh, okay, but like things change, but like you guys are my besties, like we're locked in, like intellectually, we just telepathically talk to each other. Like that is so sad. Like there is nothing worse than seeing somebody that you thought you knew end up changing into something else. And I'm sure that this is how it kind of felt for her because it's basically this dread of like a broken promise. But the reason why Woojin ended up being ever so busy was because at this time he was working on opening his own restaurant. But this is where they ended up having a conversation about his behavior, and this is where Woojin realized that he had broken his promise, and he was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, like now that you've brought this to my attention, I'm gonna work harder and I'm gonna be better. Like I'm so sorry that like I talked to you like that, I shouldn't have talked to you like that. And so after they have this conversation, they decide that they're gonna go work on the relationship, but then Ji-young ended up sleeping on it, and when she woke up the next day, she gave Woojin a call and she told him that she wanted to end their relationship. And now we move over to Woojin, and he says that like when he heard this, he was really shocked because they had just talked the day before that they were gonna work on it, and even afterwards they had hung out together, so he thought that he would start working on himself and be more accommodating towards her. But then she suddenly broke up with him the next day, so to this day he has unresolved feelings. And again, they just broke up like 3 months ago. So now we move over to their time clocks, which is a representation of how much they either want to get to know somebody new or get back with their ex. Ji-yeon moves her time clock, and she says that she barely has any intentions of getting back with her ex. It's at like 5-10%. Meanwhile, on Woojin's inside he's about 40% wanting to get back with Ji-yeon. And Ji-yeon says in a confessional that it's not that she doesn't care about him, but rather she tries her best not to care about him and she wants to move on with her life. But now we're back in the room where they're talking before they revealed all this to us, and Woojin's basically telling her like, I can't believe that you're actually interested in him. And he's saying this in reference to the fact that they've only been in this villa for about 5 days, and so he's trying to communicate, how do you already like somebody in 5 days? And Ji-yeon ends up telling him that it's not like I'm in love with him or that I have a crush on him, it's just initial attraction, and now I'm just acting on that attraction to see if it can turn into something bigger. But then she ends up telling Woojin that she doesn't want to get back together with him, but then she says it again, and then again, and then again, right to his face, that she does not want to get back together with him. And then first off, I'm just like, damn Ji-yeon, I get it, but like, you don't have to say it so strongly into his face just like that. But then again, I stopped and I thought about it. I'm just like, hold on. I'm me, she's her. She knows what she went through in this relationship. I do not. So I was just like, okay, and I backed off. But then at the same time, I feel like if she had only said it once, I would have believed her if she was just like, oh, okay, I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. But then because of the fact that she said it so many times, it almost felt to me like she was trying to convince herself that she doesn't want to have a relationship with him. But I feel like deep down, she's not fully against the idea. But then she basically ends the conversation by telling Woojin not to worry about her and that he should go ahead and find somebody new. And then she says, you should have treated me better when you had me. And she says it in a joking manner, but like everybody knows, there was truth behind her words. And then Ji-yeon says in a confessional that she can tell that Woojin wants to get back together, but she doesn't want to get back together with him. But then Ji-yeon and Won-kyu go back into the kitchen to start cooking, but since Woojin had left his conversation with Ji-yeon and ended up in the living room, he can see them cooking together, and so he excuses himself outside. But then Won-kyu sees that he just gets up and leaves, and so he thinks that there's something wrong, so he goes out to go check up on him. But the problem is, as he's checking up on Woojin, he goes ahead and he drags Ji-yeon along. So now Woojin, who just went outside to escape this whole situation, ended up having that situation brought to him. But luckily, at the same time and during this kind of awkward era, Yushik ends up returning back from wherever he was at, and because of this, it kind of breaks the situation to the point where everybody just kind of goes downstairs to go ahead and go meet him there. But because of the fact that they're still in the situation where it's Ji-yeon, Won-kyu, and Woojin all in one area, Ji-yeon goes to her room to quickly reset herself before going back to the kitchen. And now, since I just said that Yushik just came back from somewhere, all four of them decide to go grocery shopping, but again, it's very awkward. Even the car ride is awkward. And so in order to escape this, as they're actually grocery shopping, Ji-yeon sticks next to Yushik instead so that Won-kyu and Woojin can just basically be by themselves. Meanwhile, back at the house, Ji-hyun finally drops that note off that she wrote this morning, and she drops it off underneath Yushik's pillow in his room because, again, he was out getting groceries at this time. But now that those four have returned from grocery shopping, Ji-hyun goes outside and promptly tells Yushik that he should go ahead and check underneath his pillow for a note. And when Yushik goes ahead and grabs this note, we see in his confessional that he seems visibly flustered, but at the end of the day, he said that he was really happy that Ji-hyun was showing interest in him. And so now I'm just like, okay, so maybe there is hope for Ji-yeon and Yushik. But now we're back in the kitchen and we're still dealing with this mess that is Won-kyu, Ji-yeon, and Woojin all together. And Woojin ends up saying in confessional that he was very bothered by their interactions and the fact that he was just there and watching them. But then later, Ji-yeon basically telepathically tells Woojin that she wants to have a conversation with him, and he peeps game, locks in, and they go out to the terrace to go talk to each other. And so now Woojin and Ji-yeon are talking outside, and this is where Woojin goes ahead and tells her, I thought we made up that day. Did you not think that we made up? Why did we break up the next day? And Ji-yeon responds saying that like, no, I don't think that we made up, because up until that point, I had already been thinking about it for a very, very long time before I came to the conclusion and I talked to you. But then Woojin's like, I said I was going to fix my behavior and I said I was going to change, but you didn't even give me the opportunity or the chance to show that change. You just broke up with me right afterwards. You should have at least watched me to see how I was going to perform first before you did. But then again, Ji-yeon ends up saying that she just couldn't do that because up until that point, she was basically already upset about the relationship that they used to have, and she already felt lonely in the relationship, so she just wanted to let it go. And at this point, Ji-yeon starts crying and Woojin is apologizing, and he gets up and he goes and grabs her a tissue before Ji-yeon just says once again that she has no intentions of getting back with him, and she exits the conversation. And then Woojin, of course, also ends up leaving, and he ends up gathering himself in his room. Then we move over to the living room where a decent amount of them are hanging out, and this is where Ji-yeon says like, hey, if you guys are going to be saying something, always be careful what you're saying because this might ruin your chances of getting back with your ex, and vice versa. Your ex might not want to get back with you because of how you're behaving. And to this, Baekhyun ends up responding, if people wanted to get back with their ex, why wouldn't they just do that personally? Why would they come onto a show specifically to do that? I feel like everybody here has intentions of getting with somebody new. And by Baekhyun saying this, it seems like his mindset is being revealed by the fact that he doesn't think that anybody here has any intentions of getting back with their ex. And in a sense, you could also say that this is basically him saying that he doesn't want to get back with his ex. And it's crazy because he's saying this in a room where Woojin seems to want to get back with his ex Ji-yeon. Meanwhile, Ji-yeon is on the mindset that she doesn't want to get back with her ex, and so she's catering towards Won-kyu because she's interested in him. Whole time, as Ji-yeon is catering towards Won-kyu, we have Won-kyu's ex Ji-hyun watching this whole thing happen. But yeah, that ends up wrapping this episode. When it comes to Woojin and Ji-yeon's situation, I can definitely see both sides of what they're trying to say, and honestly, I respect both perspectives based off of the limited information that I have to deal with. with. To me, it seems like Ji-yeon is so against getting back together with Woojin because it comes from a place of anger and frustration. But you know, hatred and love are two sides of the same coin, so it really wouldn't surprise me if later they ended up getting back together, because the way that they described the relationship, it seemed that they were both very caring towards each other, and they would both go to extreme lengths in order to make sure that the other person was happy. And then on top of that, I wish I had noticed what I noticed when I was editing before I started editing it. It was to the point where I wanted to take it out of this video, because I was just like, okay, wait, no, because now I just talked about this, and now later I ended up finding out that they ended up revealing the relationship right then and there. So I was just like, should I get rid of this? Because I feel like now I'm talking about it and then later it happens. Like, what if I'm removing the surprise element of the story? But like, this whole concept that I have going on here is that you guys find things out at the same time I find things out. So I'm very strict on myself when it comes to adjusting the notes that I've already made, and I don't really let myself go back and change things that I've already written down. So I was just like, okay, after much deliberation, I just decided to keep it in the video. But with that being said, I'm really done this time. I feel like I had like a lot of exposition in this video. Like, I was talking a lot for you guys who are watching this video, even though I just yap. I've just been talking. I love you guys so much. If you guys like this video, go ahead and hit the like button to let me know that you did. If you guys really like the video, subscribe so you can watch all my videos. Hello. I love you guys so much. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.